There are some places on Earth where the government simply doesn't want you to go. From caves filled with ancient history to entire cities that have been abandoned for one reason or another. But when it comes to some of these mysterious locations, there might be more than just the government keeping us away. Today, we will look at the strange case of Michael Rockefeller and what may have happened to him after he went missing deep in the jungles of New Guinea. But before we get into the details of this bizarre mystery, make sure to hit that like button for more videos. Also stick around until the end to learn why the US government has actually put out a warning for people not to go looking for him. The year was 1961, and Michael Rockefeller was ready for the adventure of a lifetime. The son of famed New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller, was no stranger to luxury. But despite his privileged upbringing, Michael wanted more than just the finer things in life. He wanted something exciting, and he believed he would find it in the jungles of Papua New Guinea. Michael was fascinated by tribal cultures and their lifestyles. This interest had led him on several adventures throughout the world. But now, he wanted to see what was beyond the horizon. He wanted to venture somewhere very few white men had ever seen. It is said that Michael took a small plane over to the island of Asmat, and then set off on foot into the dense jungle. His goal was to travel to the Western Highlands and document the native tribes and their customs. What made this so difficult, though, was that these tribes were known to be extremely aggressive and hostile towards outsiders. In fact, they were known to practice rituals that involved sorcery and cannibalism. In addition to this, the jungles that Michael planned to hike through were some of the most treacherous in all of New Guinea. Animals everywhere could kill you. There were biting ants, deadly snakes, biting insects, and malaria. Simply put, it was a nightmare come true for anyone wanting to survive. But Michael was up for the challenge. He knew the risks of going here, but he decided that the reward would be worth it. His journey into the jungle began like any other long journey. At first, everything was fine. He met the locals, documented their villages, and learned about their lifestyle. But this did not last for long. After a while, Michael became separated from his guides, and he found himself completely alone in the jungle. For 2 days, he walked without food, water, or shelter, and when night fell, he was forced to sleep out in the open under the trees. By this point, he was exhausted, hungry, and thirsty. Then he came across a river and decided to follow it in hopes of finding some civilization. That's when he saw them, a group of natives who lived in the area. They were curious about the white man in their midst, and they offered him water and food. But Michael soon realized that these people weren't as friendly as they seemed. He tried to communicate with them, but they didn't speak any English. Then one of the natives grabbed Michael's arm and pulled him close. He then started whispering in his ear, and even though Michael couldn't understand the language, he could sense that whatever this man was saying was bad. As the native spoke to him, he noticed that Michael had a camera around his neck. The native reached over, grabbed the camera, and threw it into the river. It was destroyed in mere seconds. This enraged Michael. How dare these people destroy his camera? He wasn't sure if they realized who he was, but he was about to let them know. He took out his knife and lunged at the native, but the man easily dodged the attack. Before Michael knew what was happening, he was surrounded by all of the natives, and they started closing in on him. One of them had a spear, and when Michael looked into his eyes, he realized that they were the same eyes that stared back at him from old cave paintings. They were wild, angry, and merciless. Before Michael knew it, he was down on the ground, and the natives started kicking him and beating him with sticks. They were taunting him, daring him to fight back, and Michael did try. But even though he was stronger than these people, there were too many of them. They knocked him out cold. When he woke up, he found himself tied to a post in front of the village. The natives had stripped him naked and were now chanting and dancing around him. They were getting ready for a sacrifice, and Michael was the sacrifice. But right when they were about to cut his throat, the ritual stopped. One of the natives broke off a piece of Michael's shirt and covered his face with it. Then they all backed away and disappeared into the jungle. Michael sat there for hours, thinking that he had somehow been spared. But his relief didn't last long. Soon, a swarm of biting ants came and started attacking him. All Michael could do was scream as they chewed on his skin. That was until another group of natives came back and carried him off into the jungle. Sometime later, Michael found himself in a cave. The natives had apparently brought him here to finish the job, but before they could hurt him, he noticed that the cave had a strange symbol carved into its wall. It was the same symbol he had seen on the villagers' huts. When the leader of the tribe noticed that Michael was studying the carving, he approached him and pressed a finger to his lips. He then motioned with his hand for Michael to follow him deeper into the cave. Michael agreed, and the two of them walked into the darkness. The cave was pitch black, so Michael had no idea where they were going. Suddenly, he felt something soft beneath his feet. He then realized that they had stopped walking and were now standing on something squishy. The leader turned around and smiled at Michael, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth. At that moment, Michael understood what was happening. These people hadn't brought him to the cave to spare him. They had brought him to sacrifice him. They were going to use the blood from his sacrifice to perform a ritual to bring back a powerful spirit from the underworld. And whatever this spirit was, it needed something special to come back. Just then, another native entered the cave and handed the leader a dagger. This wasn't any ordinary knife. It was ceremonial, used only for sacrifices. The native then motioned to Michael that he should take off his loincloth. Michael knew that resisting was pointless, so he did as he was told. The next thing he knew, the leader had plunged the knife into his stomach. Michael screamed as he felt his insides spill out onto the ground, but his pain was short-lived because soon after, everything went black. The natives performed their ritual, and once it was finished, they left the cave. Michael's body lay there for days, rotting and being eaten by animals, until one day a bird picked up a piece of his flesh and flew away with it. That's when the spirit possessing the bird noticed that the piece of meat tasted good. It continued flying to the cave until every piece of Michael's body had been taken. To this day, the natives believe that Michael's spirit is now bound to the cave and protects them from harm. But is this really true? Or is there something else going on here? Now, we don't know exactly what happened to Michael Rockefeller, but the theories are plentiful. Some say that the natives truly did kill and eat him. Others claim that he faked his own death to escape his father's overly protected life. However, there's also a third theory that claims Michael was abducted by the bird people. Bird people, you heard that right. According to reports, there are giant birds living in the caves that prey on humans. This may sound far-fetched, but there have been sightings of these creatures in the area for decades. In fact, there have been photos and videos of these encounters that show the gigantic birds standing over the bodies of their victims. So what's the truth? Did Michael Rockefeller get lost in the jungle and become the meal of a pack of wild dogs? Was he sacrificed by the natives and brought back to life by a giant bird? Or did he fake his death and start a new life far away from his old one? Well, the US government believes that he's still alive somewhere in Papua New Guinea. In fact, they have issued a warning to people not to go looking for him because he could be dangerous. Whatever happened to Michael in those caves, it clearly messed him up. If he is still out there, he may be hiding from the government and the natives. Or maybe he is one with the natives and has embraced their way of life. I guess we will never know what happened to Michael Rockefeller. All we can do is speculate and wonder what he is up to these days. Hopefully he's in a better place wherever he is. Because if he's still out there in the jungle, he is a very dangerous man. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Michael Rockefeller is still alive? If so, what do you think he's up to these days? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, make sure to hit that like button for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.